Today is one of those days when you hear from one of those tribunals, and timely so, because it is not yet end of March. There's a tribunal called the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal, and the vice chairperson, Doris Mwirigi, joins us in the studio. Good morning, Doris.
Good morning, Eric.
Good to have you in the Situation Room.
Good to have you.
Welcome
Good to be here.
Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you. It's not hot so far.
I know. Your
Ndu
blue
was
has
very
neutralized.
kind.
Cindy,
Yes.
she's always like that.
Kabisa. When I'm seated at her right side, it won't be that hot.
Did you hear?
Yeah.
I invite you to my right side.
Yeah.
Which is not hot.
Yes.
Well,
Okay. So, Doris, the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal. Who are you? Who established you? What do you do?
Thank you again for having me. And in our calendar, it's me at the tribunal. So the Energy Tribunal is established under the Energy and the Energy Act, and also under the Petroleum Act. So it's guided by twin acts. I think for you to understand what the Energy and Petroleum does, you have to understand first what the regulator does. And last week, I think EPRA, the regulator, was here. So the regulator grants all licenses for electricity, petroleum, and renewable energy. So, the EPRA regulates the energy and petroleum sector. And based on the regulation, it's where the tribunal comes in. So the tribunal hears all appeals or decision, if you're dissatisfied with any of EPRA's decision, then you come to the tribunal. Yes. So the tribunal is anchored in the Energy Act, but hosted by the judiciary.
Okay.
So we are based in the judiciary, and our budget is supported by the judiciary. So for you, what would that mean? For example, when you ask who are the people who come to the tribunal, if, for example, you're a petrol station, like what has been going on, and your license is cancelled, you come to the tribunal to appeal the decision of the regulator. Eric, if you're having problems with your power bill, you will first go to Kenya Power, exhaust all the mechanism, you appeal, you tell them this is not the power I pay.
The first mechanism is lipa kwanza. I love to ongea.
Actually, that one is the second. The first one is the disconnection.
Kwa transformer.
Yes.
Umekatiwa kwa kikingi.
So assume, Eric, I'm a disconnectiwa. You appeal to Kenya Power, then you go to the regulator, EPRA, and tell them, look, I object to this and all that. If you're dissatisfied, then you come to the tribunal.
To the tribunal.
Yes, because you can't first come to the tribunal without exhausting the Kenya Power mechanism. But now if you're looking, for example, to generate power through geothermal or, solar, you'll go to the regulator, apply for the license. For example, it's denied. That decision is appealed to the tribunal. For example, if you are transporting oil and you did something or didn't, and your license is cancelled, you come to the tribunal. Okay. So that's why I'm saying you first have to understand what the regulator does. So then what we do mostly is listen to disputes relating from the decisions of the regulator, and also decisions of the cabinet secretary of energy.
okay.
Yes.
So what we're saying is that the floor is open. Anybody essentially can come to you. We're not just talking about just industry, but individuals can then come to you. So now, dissatisfied with EPRA's decisions, for example, across...
Or appealing,
Or appealing a decision that they have made across board.
Yes.
So you are essentially not established for EPRA, are you?
Nope. We're established for Kenyans.
Okay.
Yes. And just to look back at what the Energy Act and Petroleum sought, it's, if you look at the energy sector, it literally drives the economy. So what was hoped with the energy sector regulation is that there are speedy decisions. That is, the investment is high, it affects your daily life. So there are speedy decisions from, whatever decisions are made. That way then, if you don't have to go to court and wait. And another unique aspect of our tribunal is that it's not just lawyers. we have engineers, we have electrical people, guys who have the expertise. That way, you come to the tribunal, it's efficient, it's fast, because it's not bogged down by the rules and all that. And then you have experts, like, for example, are specialized in energy and petroleum law. The chair of our tribunal is Senior Counsel Kyoko Kilukumi. Then we have 2 engineers there and, other lawyers. So what was hoped with the tribunal is that it is efficient and, facilitates the energy sector move as it should be and facilitates decision-making. That way, if you are appealing against your license, you're not stuck in court for many years, and because our turnaround is very fast.
How fast?
Is your turnaround specified in law, in the Act, and says that you shall dispense with the matter which comes before you within?
Actually, the people whose decision, it's EPRAs must make their decision within 30 days or 60, I'll confirm. And then also, I think when the registrar was here, said that we must be, the reason people come to the tribunal is so that we are fast. For example, the last matter we disposed of last Thursday, we hadn't determined it within 2 weeks. Yeah. So we sit mostly every other Thursday. So when this tribunal hasn't been sitting, and one of the reasons I think the judiciary wants people to know that we are back. We haven't been sitting for the last 5 years. Because of quorum. So we just started 2 months ago. So if there's anything I want Kenyans to know is that Energy and Petroleum Tribunal is back. If you have any matters you want us to deal with, please.
Explain this quorum, please.
Okay. So the law provides that there are 7 members, one at the chair and other members. The chair is appointed by the president, and the other members are appointed by the cabinet secretary after a competitive recruitment process. So what happened is that the members were appointed, but unfortunately the process of appointing the chair took long. So we couldn't sit without a chair.
And it's the president who appoints the chair?
Exactly. So
sole discretion?
No.
Nothing?
No. You go through a recruitment process, advertised, everywhere you apply. Eric, you can also apply. So you apply, but you won't qualify for chair because you must be qualified to be a high court judge.
Must be senior counsel.
But Eric qualifies to be a high court judge.
Is he a lawyer?
No, he's well versed in environmental matters.
He can be a member.
And energy.
Energy.
Yes, the tribunal wants members who are qualified, but the chair must be qualified to be a high court judge. So what happened in that first, a new law came, the Energy Act came in 2019. By that time, the quorum age or this appointment, we haven't been sitting. So we just started sitting 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yes.
Doris, if I may ask you, over those 5 years, what happens to all of those individuals or companies or institutions who had issues with decisions then made by this regulator and then could not bring them to a tribunal and then unfortunately maybe had, decisions made against them, or that they could not hear, or their issues then could not be heard? What happens to them? Or are you seeing now where they will now come and start bringing those cases to you?
They went to the High Court. The court was still open to them, and we are having some matters now come back. Okay. So what happened immediately? We came, we convened 2 months ago. We called everybody who had ever filed the matter within those years.
5 years.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, some of them, time had lapsed, some had gone to the High Court, but we've had we've cleared a lot of cases within the last 2 months. Supported by the judiciary, we've been, clearing a lot of matters. And we hope by the end of this year to have no backlog at all. Yeah, so they would go to the High Court. Unfortunately, the process is longer. So I think now there's some relief.
I sense a glitch here, but maybe you can explain. So in law, how do you get members, these 7 members to the tribunal?
So
according to the law.
The Act is very clear, the Energy Act, about how the appointment is done. So
such a lawyer, the law is clear. Okay.
The one thing which is
the law is clear.
The law is
lawyer,
clear.
It is clear. She's going to share us out the clarity. Please go on.
The law is clear. Anyway, so the Act provides that the CS will set up a selection committee. So the selection committee is gazetted, where, people are part of the selection committee. Then what they do, they advertise, they advertised in the newspapers for anybody who wants to sit in the tribunal. So everybody who sat then, we went through a very rigorous process of interviews. Then they were appointed. You're vetted and go through all that. And then the CS gazettes you. Yes.
Are there timelines? Does it say that in the event there's a vacancy in the tribunal,
yes,
the CS shall within X number of days establish a selection panel, which shall within X number of days give him names, and it's within X number of days appoint?
No, I don't think it's timed like that. It's assumed they will.
So we're basically just saying that, the CS shall notice that there's a vacancy in the tribunal, and then the CS shall act in good faith.
No, but you forget there's also a secretariat based at the ministry. The ministry has a secretariat also advising the minister and telling the minister, the tribunal is not, the term will come to an end in March. There is a CEO of the tribunal based at the ministry. So there's the minister is actually well informed.
Okay.
And the current minister is actually very, interested.
But is there anything that compels the CS to kickstart this process?
Yes, what compelled the CS is the coming into effect of this law in 2019. The things that the CS was meant to do as this law came into effect is appoint a tribunal.
Does the government have representatives within this tribunal?
No. It's independent. Yeah.
Are you saying the government is not independent?
You don't, because you're appealing against
the decision of
you appeal against the decisions of the government,
the authority
of the CS and the authority.
Well, I appeal against the decision of the authority to a high court. They're not part and parcel of the government.
Do you mean the executive city?
Oh, no. I'm actually very specific. Let me explain to you what I mean.
By government, do you mean government or do you mean executive?
I mean Serikali Kuu. You see, Serikali Kuu, the judiciary is part of Serikali Kuu. Okay? 3 arms of government, we're told. Is that not so?
Yes.
Working in tandem, however independent of each other.
But they're part and parcel of the government. So all I'm saying is that this intermarriage exists. Like if you look at the board of most parastatals, they are government representatives, depending on the ministry.
Yes.
So it's with that in mind that I'm asking that, okay, you have a tribunal. I've understood. You have the chair whose position, learning, pedigree is equivalent to that of a high court judge, then the other members, etc., etc., etc. I think I've answered my own question.
Yes.
I've answered my own question.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I've answered my own question.
I was trying to reach, Doris, to the reason why we'd not have a tribunal in operation for 5 years, despite the law, despite a process for appointing and constituting this tribunal being in place.
And how clear it is that
it sounds like it's left to the political will of the cabinet secretary and the president. And if the president sees this tribunal has just been saying everything that we do, the tribunal just comes and says this tribunal will not sit.
Are you the equivalent of a court of appeal?
No.
Then how is it then that issues that were determined by the court and they were issues still come back to you?
No, they're not coming back to us. In fact, you appeal the decisions of our tribunal to the High Court. Yeah, so that's that's the level of the tribunals.
Okay, so then essentially the say of the tribunal at the end of a matter is not final.
No.
That if there's still a dissatisfied party at the end of the process, they still have the preserve to go to
the High
Court to then appeal this decision.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting that this has all come back at a time where there are woes with the regulator in the country.
Yes.
Right now, over the last 8 weeks or so, there's 6 to 8 weeks, there's been this issue about fuel not being available at the pump. Fuel, then also the prices being shot through the roof. And that there should be, in terms of we seeing the levies and all of this consolidated to make sure that Kenyans don't pay too much at the pump. And at the same time, the oil marketers get what they need. Have you seen that you have seen an increase? I mean, you've been back to sitting for 2 months, you said. Have you seen that there has been an increase in some of these cases coming to your desk based on what has been happening in the country recently?
I'm glad you didn't ask me if we will lower fuel prices.
No, but I will.
when you put up the poster that I was coming here, everybody's like, "Oh, I hope you guys can lower fuel prices." Well, we don't, unfortunately. So we have seen a spike of interest in the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal since all this the fuel crisis began. So people have been coming. Wanting to know what they can file the matters. If you can come and say, no, I want the fuel prices lowered. And what we've been doing with the Secretariat is telling people what the tribunal can hear or not. If they first have to go to the regulator. So that's, and I like that you guys are the DG of EPRA here. They first have to go to the regulator. And when you go to the regulator, what you're asking is, you're first objecting maybe to the pricing mechanism, because there's a pricing mechanism, or what would come then is the regulator has been saying they will punish
the errant players.
The errant players, whatever punishment. So the errant player, whichever punishment is meted on you, then you can come and appeal to the tribunal. So there has been an interest and more matters have been filed. So though I can't discuss that, there has been an interest and a lot of matters filed in the tribunal. And what I'd want your listeners to know is that there is an Energy and Petroleum Tribunal that is working, that is there to sort out their matters and to listen to them. Yes.
Tell us about one such decision that you made in the recent past that one could argue was beneficial to the public.
All our decisions are beneficial to the public.
Okay. Choose one then.
So
this should be simple.
I can say one of the decisions that came to us recently that we made a decision on was the LPG truck that caused an accident. You remember on the highway?
Yes.
Yes, that topped. And so what happened to that player? Their license was cancelled. So they came to appeal to the tribunal, wanting their license back. And we had that matter, the interim application, and delivered a ruling last Thursday.
Okay.
Yes. And another one...
Is it something that you can discuss in public, or it's still...
So I can say the interim decision of the tribunal then was the license the decision of the regulator was not reversed in that case.
Okay.
Yes. Another of the interesting matters we are having is about from the Kenya Power. So people who have been, have had their paying for electricity and it's not connected, they appeal through the mechanism, then they come. So I want to show you, we hear from the all matters. So, for example, if a pole has passed by your home, you didn't want, you say you hadn't been consulted, all those matters will come. As I said, if she has applied for a license for solar, and it's not granted, all that comes to us. So those are the kind of decisions we are dealing with. So in terms of electrical, renewable energy, and petroleum. I know there's a lot of interest in petroleum, but there's also other aspects of the energy sector.
What's your caseload? How many cases do you actually have before you in the course of, say, a month or in a year? And then question one, that was question 1A. Yeah. Question 1B, how many cases do you manage to actually go through in the course of a month?
So when we started off, we had a caseload of 12 matters.
1, 2.
Yes, 1, 2. When we had just started, we've managed to clear 6 in the last 2 months. So we had 12. We've cleared what we found pending. So we cleared 6. What has happened? We have had now new matters within the last 2 months, around 4 to 5 new matters. Yes.
So within the last few months, you started with 12.
Yes.
Dispensed with 6.
Yes.
And there's 4 more that come.
Yes.
Have come.
Yes.
So you have 10.
Yes.
Before you now.
Yes. And you must know, we are not permanent.
You only sit on Thursdays.
Yeah, we are, it's not, tribunals are not meant to be full-time job.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So what determines your sitting?
The matters. Like now, because we haven't sat in so long, there was a move to ensure we are sitting often and hearing all matters. Okay. Yes, and again, to serve the purpose of tribunals, we have to meet often. Otherwise, then if your matter is not resolved within 2 months, or 3 months, we are not playing our role. Okay. So we are there to expedite matters, to serve justice in a fast way.
Okay.
Yes.
It's 7:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. Doris Mwirigi is the vice chairperson of the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal. We are talking about the job of this particular tribunal in resolving disputes arising from the oil and gas sector. Right? That's correct.
Yes.
So oil and gas.
Yes. Energy, oil and gas.
Energy, oil and gas.
Yes.
This is the Situation Room.
Back to the tribunal conversation.
Yeah.
And, you were telling us about very many things about how this tribunal is established, how it sits. You've been sitting now for the last 2 months.
Yes.
And you've been pretty busy, and there are more matters that have been brought before you.
Yes.
I'm like a dog with a bone on this one.
Yes.
You have not sat for 5 years.
Yes.
Because the president had not appointed a chairperson to this tribunal, and also the issue of selection of members of the panel.
Okay. I think let me clarify so that I don't leave here people thinking the president didn't appoint.
Yeah.
So this is how the selection procedure was to happen. When the new law came into place, the Energy Act and the Petroleum Act, which were all assented on the same day, that the CS of Energy was then to set up a selection panel. So they set up a selection panel. The selection panel then in the Kenya Gazette and in the dailies invited people to apply. Mm-hmm. The first time, I think people didn't know of it. I also didn't. There weren't many people who applied. Okay. So there was still
a re-advertisement.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think, Eric, I may not have said this clearly. When the selection panel starts sitting, they must recruit within 14 days. So they first did for members.
Okay.
So went through the process of members, re-advertising and all that. Then after, they invited chair after our process of members. Mm-hmm. Again, there was a re-advertisement in the chairs. Okay. I think it wasn't responsive.
Not many people came.
Yes. So, yes, there were delays in appointment and all that, but still it was done within the prescribed format. And I want... You're very disappointed by this 5-year lapse. I hear you. Yeah, but I want you to focus now.
On the last 2 months.
Yes. No. That there is a tribunal, an Energy and Petroleum Tribunal working that is fully constituted with excellent members, if I must say so myself, that is well supported by the judiciary and the ministry to expedite all matters relating to energy and petroleum. So yes, there were mistakes in the last, there were lapses in the last 5 years. But what is that Kenyan saying? Sipite.
I was thinking of
Chuku at least.
No, I was actually thinking of something that perhaps we borrowed from our former colonizers. Justice delayed is justice denied. That is what came to mind.
She wants you to be positive.
No. But he has a point. But I want to tell you that people still had access to justice, only not through the tribunal, but they were going now to the higher court.
Just it was delayed.
It was a longer process.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I mean, not to find fault.
I agree.
The tribunal expedites things.
Yes.
You are heard, everything moves, and there are timelines which are set by which you take your matter to the court.
Yeah.
You join that whole queue.
Yes.
And with the queue comes the backlog.
Yes.
You join it.
Yes.
So, yes, the matter is before the court, but when will it actually be determined?
Yeah.
Tribunals were set because it was understood that there are certain matters which, if you take through the normal justice system, you will not achieve what is required.
Yeah.
That is really all that we're saying.
Yes, and I agree. Yes, and I totally agree. And I hope this is a challenge to all the, decision makers and policy makers, anyone in that decision to know if going by what, even in studio and the comments, people really want justice and people want their matters heard. So yes, just because it's good doesn't mean it can't get better.
Yeah.
Whereas we are positive, yes. And I think as a tribunal, what we are looking forward to is ensuring all the people who've waited now don't have to wait any longer.
What do you do to ensure that people actually know of your existence?
starting with talking to you guys now. I hope now people know. And as our registrar, Anna Suga, said, we want to go out on a sensitization mission to let people know. This is our first interview. We want to let people know that the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal is back. Yeah, so we I think with the judiciary will put in place a mechanism and a sensitization plan for people to know that there is a tribunal. But I hope by coming here, at least many more people know that there is an Energy and Petroleum Tribunal.
Even as you work out those kinks and you're trying to, so, I mean, here it is to say that anything that you have an issue with as per the regulator, right, across board. I think if we want to look at something like your electricity bills, which is one example that we talked about before.
Yes.
And if we are saying that you must have exhausted all avenues before you then come to the tribunal.
Yes.
This is one of the kinks that then you work out in your communication, I'm hoping.
Yes.
That the question then is for a lot of people. If I'm going to this regulator at the beginning and I'm saying, here's my electricity bill on this month, and it's ridiculously higher than it was the month before, just as an example, they're going to ask me, as CT so rightly said, all right, what you ought to do, how about you pay? Because this is what they tell you to do. Pay, then let's look at the cycle as it has been over time. I'm saying because I know, I've done it. Let's look at the cycle over time and let's see truly if there is a discrepancy in what you have been paying. But guess what? The money is already in the bank. And what I need are the lights on, right? But if I see that this is a regular, in my opinion, abuse of services, then I can now say, you know what? This really is too much. As far as I'm concerned, I have exhausted it. I have paid. I've waited for you to tell me about this supposed cycle. At the end of the day, you tell me, oh, you know, there was an adjustment here. There's an irregularity, but it has then so far been adjusted. And we hope that there will be no occurrences of this in the future. At what point then do I say that I am still I am clearly dissatisfied. But if something like this should occur again, I am just going to be put through the same process. Meanwhile, the tribunal is telling me that I must exhaust this first before I come here to see if you can address this issue for me. Do you see where it will be met with trepidation on the side of many Kenyans?
Yes, and I hear you on that. But also, can you imagine if everybody who's dissatisfied with the electric bill rush to the tribunal? You know, we'd still have to go back to Kenya Power and ask them, you know, what can we do? These people are dissatisfied, and it will still be the technicians. So it's I hear you, but also it's one of the measures to ensure that then again the tribunal is not flooded by a million matters, and we'll still go back to Kenya Power to ask them, please review this, look at this meter and all that. So there is that also. It's a tricky balance. But what I would say on what you've said is, if you've paid, you've paid the 20,000 they are claiming for you, you've exhausted the mechanism, and you feel you're not happy with it. What I would encourage is then come back to the tribunal. By the way, one of the things I should mention, the filing fees is pretty low at the tribunal.
How low?
Around 1,500. Yes.
1,500 shillings.
Yes, as of now.
Okay.
Before, so it isn't expensive. So you would, for future.
It doesn't lock out.
Yes. And again, it's what you are saying about the CJ's vision is access to justice and social transformation. So it's not punitive. The fees are not so high as to make you not come, even when your 20K is lying there. After you've exhausted, fine, your 20K is lying there, but still come and say, I would want this reviewed for future. I'm not happy with the decision that the regulator made here. And then it will help not only you, but Eric in future.
How binding are your decisions?
They're as binding as the decisions of the court.
Okay.
Yeah, unless appealed.
And sorry, I was going to ask. Okay, then there's the decision. Thank you very much, Eric. Yes.
But I mean, they enforce the same way the court cases are enforced. You get a court order, you serve to, Kenya Power, you serve to the regulator or whoever. Yeah, you enforce the same way you'd enforce a court order.
I look at areas where maybe communities would have complaints.
Yes.
Let's say a community where there's geothermal.
Yes.
Or a community where there's oil exploration taking place.
Yes.
A community where there's people have come with this very noisy wind
turbines, yes.
Or they're trying to block out migratory routes for their animals.
Yeah.
Where do they start? Those communities would have an issue with things that are happening, the investments in the energy sector. Where would they start?
They first go to the regulator. I know they would. Also, another thing, after I finish that, they would still go to the regulator, because the regulator is the one who licensed these people. Okay. So, for example, if they've licensed to
set up a wind
power, they are the guys who have license. So you go and complain, and it is hoped that the regulator asks her to fix what is wrong with the wind power and all that. If they don't, the decision then you come back after you've gone to the regulator. And you see that the reason the regulator is important here is because it's the regulator who grants these licenses and all. So you go there first. There are also some decisions, I'm sure you've seen in your fridge, there is EPRA now all over. There are some decisions even which are made by the county governments on energy conservation.
Yes.
Those ones, if you are dissatisfied, you come to the tribunal. So there's all these energy efficiency things that have come up. If you look at your fridge, you'll see EPRA, energy efficiency and all. So there are things that you could be compelled by your county government to do about energy conservation. Even those decisions can be appealed to the tribunal.
So those ones will come straight to the tribunal?
Yes, after the county has made a decision, you can come to the tribunal.
There's often the thing that once you start to let people know again that this is available, then there will also be the notion that say, okay, well, you know what, I can actually take this to the tribunal.
Yeah.
Meaning that there will be an influx, or rather that there will be an increase in the number of cases that come then to the tribunal. Is the tribunal equipped then to handle more flurry of activity?
Absolutely. And we've seen a new flurry of activities. I think one of the good things about it's that it was recruited competitively. We have experts in the sector, and then it is one of the things that also helped. It must be well financed for you to be able to hold all these sittings and all that. So I think we are well equipped and can handle more cases. So let Kenyans, if you're dissatisfied, if you have any dispute, once you've exhausted the internal mechanisms within Kenya Power, within in the regulator, then you can come.
Okay.
Yes.
And this and my next question, this tribunal sits in Nairobi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, another main issue, and I'm doing this for a reason, because you said you want Kenyans to know that the tribunal then is active and ready to hear these cases.
Yeah.
One of the most talked about cases for a lot of people is when we talk about connection of power.
Yes.
Now, people will say that you go to your local office and they say, well, this is the amount that you must pay for us then to deliver a certain number of poles and have wiring. On the day this is now supposed to be done, somebody comes and tells you, actually, you know what? This was not the amount that you were supposed to pay.
Yes.
This was another amount. Now you're asking me, here I am with this document, and we're talking about really going into rural electrification.
Yes.
I have this document. The person who is going to stop me from having power connected in my home is the God at that point, and says, this is the amount that you ought to pay.
Yes.
And we want the power at the end of the day. I come to Nairobi.
Nope.
Okay.
Actually, you no longer now have to come to Nairobi. There is e-filing. I'm hoping one can be assisted at the cyber cafe or can be able to upload their documents. So you upload the documents through the e-system. The e-filing, I'll give the website. So maybe I can give the website.
www.#
Yes, efiling.court.go.ke. So you create in your login accounts and you file your matter.
Okay.
One of the good things now, we hear matters virtually. So you don't have to come from Meru or Kisii. So and unless we make exceptions, though, if you're having challenges, from where you are, you can't, there is
accessing the internet,
then we'll make room for you to come physically. And I think what we are trying to be is flexible and give people access to justice. So like there's a matter similar to what you are saying that came up, and every time we tried to do the connection, the the person will drop off, the appellant will drop off. So we said, this is a second time and he's dropping off. Let's make room for him to come to Nairobi so that then he's heard if he wants. So I think
So what does making room mean?
we sit now.
Ulimtumia fare?
Hapana. Hatutumianangi fare.
Mlituma gari.
Hapana. Tulimuuliza kama anataka kuja kusikizwa kesi.
So you basically said, we are sitting on this day, please come.
Yes.
We'll give you this slot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then the tribunal will sit now physically to hear. So there is flexibility for us to sit virtually so that then you don't have to travel all the way, to hear. So we hear matters virtually, and then we can also make room if you're having internet or connectivity issues for us to sit physically. But I want to encourage anybody who wants to know more details. We have a secretariat at Kawi House. Kawi House is in South Sea. And also they can go to the registrar of tribunals, the secretariat. There are people there always willing to assist and help guide anybody who has a matter. Kawi House, the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal, and the registrar of tribunals at Forodha House.
Do I need legal representation to appear before the tribunal?
Nope. You can appear in person.
But you'll ask me those technical questions. I have absolutely no clue. Look, you have studied, what did you say, this law?
Energy and Petroleum law.
There you go.
Yes.
And so you'll be asking me questions of sections of the law that you understand. I'm only complaining because this person, this independent power producer, has done this, and April told me to go ride a mosquito. And I'm coming just to complain and say, I don't want to ride a mosquito. I want these people to stop polluting my environment.
No. At my heart of it, I'm still the regular person. So I'm not going to quote for you Section 22, of the Act. I want to hear you. And one of the things we have even in the tribunal is people who've worked in the sector, in the electricity sector, with the regulator. So there's no jargon. So, and one of the things I've tried even today is to ensure we don't have a lot of jargon. So even if you come, I'm not there brandishing the Energy Act, the Constitution, Article 5. No, we are a tribunal. We want to hear you. If you want us to hear in Kiswahili, we'll hear you in Kiswahili. So at the heart of it is for us trying to resolve these matters, not to sound so sophisticated and all that. So you will be heard in Kiswahili or in English, and we are not brandishing the act and law. We want to know what is at the heart of the matter. Of course, there are some matters that you have to go to that level and hear people out, because at the end of the day, it's justice we want to deliver. And then the other matters, you will find it's a sophisticated people, the oil companies, their lawyers, they'll come with a battery of lawyers. So there's from the top to in between, we are hearing our matters and we are equipped to hear our matters.
You know, the Rent Tribunal is one of the most popular tribunals because we all live in one structure or another. I'm going back. I'm also a dog with a bone with this one here. We have the judicial services offered throughout the country. Yes, you've started well, and we thank you for coming to the show, but people need to know more. Why am I saying this? People who are in the energy sector don't necessarily always consider the people and the environment in which they are operating. If people know more about your work, they will be more careful about the things they do, and they will pay heed to what people have to tell them about what they're doing. Because by the time cases get to you, it means somebody somewhere didn't do what they're supposed to do. That's why someone is complaining. Because if they did it, then there would be no complaint. So the effort you've made, excellent.
We need to do more.
Shift gears.
And I hope even the budget allocation people are hearing this. But the oil and gas and energy sector is seen as very sophisticated and, this exclusive. But, it's one of those sectors that is literally driving you. And I think there is a push to get it from the ministry, to get it more accessible so that then So I think the challenge is taken. We'll make more people know about this tribunal, and those who have heard, tell somebody else. So I think it's, yes, I agree with you. It's a very secluded sector. It's like you only know what has happened when there's a crash.
Actually, it's the reason why I'm saying this is what you've already said. It's a crucial sector.
Yes, very, very.
But Talking about budgeting,
Yeah.
there are all these tariffs they keep adding, and these levies they keep adding to petroleum. Tell them to add just one more so that,
Can
you we had 9.
I mean,
Yeah.
just make it 10.
We had 9, just make it 10, and then that one comes to you guys.
That was
Energy
the
and Petroleum Tribunal
Wow.
levy.
Levy, that's
wow.
it.
People
Yes.
lobbying for us. Thank
Yes.
you. They
10
have had.
cents.
10 cents.
I hope the policy makers have had, but I can imagine the chaos if Kenyans, you had one more shilling to the
No,
fuel
there's
Not
price.
a
no
shilling,
chaos.
just
Yeah.
10 cents.
Just 10 cents.
10
There'll be-
cents
there'll be no
to
chaos.
In
finance
our
the
power
tribunal.
bill
Okay.
and the
Thank
pump,
you.
all this, that's a lot of money. In
Yeah.
fact, it will be coming to you.
Have you seen vehicles who are fueling reducing in numbers every time they raise the price of fuel? It never does.
Yes.
So this 10 cents for you people,
Yeah.
we will not complain.
Thank you.
Sawa. Now that we can complain, final question.
Yes.
We can complain about decisions, we can appeal decisions of EPRA,
Yeah.
appeal decisions of the county
CS,
government,
yeah.
the CS.
Yeah.
Can we appeal decisions of the National Treasury?
There is a tax tribunal. I hope they are next year.
Oh,
There is a
that's
tax
different
tribunal.
one.
You
Okay.
should have them next.
Okay.
Madam Registrar should organize.
No, we are
Sawa.
bringing them.
Yes, yeah, because there's a tax tribunal. Yes.
Doris, thank you very much for joining us.
What a pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for lobbying for us to be well financed.
Kabisa.